On another exciting episode of the Animation Deliberation podcast, we begin our 18-episode streak of our favorite sorcerer, starting with Jujutsu Kaisen, Season 2, Episodes 6 and 7, It's Like That, and Evening Festival. Right after these ads, we have no control over.
Sing along if you know the words. A 1, 2, 3, it's time for Animation Deliberation! A conversation and a celebration of our favorite action animated series, yeah!
Yeah, welcome back to another episode of Animation Deliberation, the podcast where we take action animation and cartoons seriously, but not too seriously. We're your hosts. I'm Zahir Ali.
And I am Andrew Rogers.
Anime talk is back. We've been covering a lot of DC content. It's been wonderful, but Jujutsu Kaisen is back. It took its little 2-week hiatus. We got our main characters back. The timeline order has been all over the place, but in case you didn't hear me the first time, it's back. How you feeling, bud?
Oh, I'm so excited that it is back. You said, there was a little 2-week hiatus. I was thinking to myself, no, it wasn't. It's been like 2 months since we've recorded, and I've been able to watch this show. It felt so long, and I didn't really pick up on how big of a gap was in my life without Jujutsu Kaisen until this moment when we're talking about, nope, it was a short break, but I needed it back. And now that it's back, I'm so happy. It's just... It's so much fun. We're going to talk a lot about it. And even without spoilers at this point, I just got to say, I'm so happy to have our main characters back. I forgot how character-driven of a show this was. And all of the jokes hit for me, the comedy, the personality, just everything came back in a flood during that first episode and then carried into the second episode. So, I know there's some mixed reviews as to how people are feeling it's starting, but I'm just so happy we have the characters back. I do not care because it's been a really fun return to Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yeah, screw reviews. Last week I was flying to Dallas, so I didn't get a chance to watch because I isolated myself from the world because I was so freaking busy. And I was lucky enough to be able to just watch both of the episodes back to back an hour ago without anything being spoiled. So it's fresh in my head. It hasn't been tainted by anybody else's thoughts, and it's just raw and ready to go. You ready to go?
Oh, I am so ready to go. I'm just bursting at the seams. There's many things that I just want to yell out. So yeah, let's get rid of this spoiler-free talk. Presumably you're here because you watched the episodes, so let's just talk about the things that you know happened.
And in order for us to be able to share the stuff that we all know happened, we got to stay hydrated. And the best way to stay hydrated is with Liquid IV. One stick of liquid IV and 16 ounces of water hydrates you 2 times faster and more efficiently than water alone. The result of an extensive R&D process to perfect the flavor and efficacy, Liquid IV combines science-backed zero-sugar technology with the brand's commitment to delicious real flavor. No artificial sweeteners and zero sugar, with the proprietary amino acid allulose blend for a sweet taste with the calories or raised blood glucose levels you get from sugar. Contains 8 vitamins and nutrients for everyday wellness with 3 times the electrolytes of leading sports drinks.
And, Liquid IV is just fantastic at everything that it does. They are here for you in all of your hydration needs, whether it be for podcasting, health purposes, fitness purposes. They have immune, they have sleep, they have everything else. And within those products, they are non-GMO and free from gluten, dairy, and soy. And Liquid IV is not only a company good for you, but good for the world. Liquid IV believes that equitable access to clean and abundant water is the foundation of a healthier world. They partner with leading organizations to fund and foster innovative solutions that help communities protect their water and their futures. To date, Liquid IV has donated over 39 million servings in 50-plus countries around the world.
Doesn't matter if you're excited for Halloween, doesn't matter if you're excited for fall. It's still 90 to 100 degrees outside. It feels miserable. You can see the water evaporating from your skin. Make sure you keep it in your system. So get 20% off when you grab your Liquid IV Hydration Multiplier sugar-free or any other variant at liquidiv.com and use code STAYWHELMED at checkout. That's 20% off anything you order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code STAYWHELMED at liquidiv.com.
Woo! Oh, man. I was like, how are we going to tie this into the episode? We usually try and get some little nod to whatever we're talking about in some capacity. And I was trying to think of some way that wasn't gross, talking about, Mechamaru needing to rehydrate. And somehow you just saying we're getting close to Halloween just, hit home for what these episodes have going on in such a way that I was not prepared for. So...
Hey, maybe there's something you could get for the little goodie bags on Halloween.
Just
Just throw
get,
liquid IV in the kids' baskets.
hey kids, this is for you. Someday when you get hungover, you'll really understand what this is.
Just for the parents.
Yeah, you hand out the liquid IV to the parents, and you hand out the candy to the kids. Like, you're gonna need this.
I've done some trick or treats where it's like I'm taking my friends' kids out or something, and they have like the treats for the kid, and they have like little wine bottles with like their company cards or whatever. Like they're doing promotions
Yeah,
and stuff like during Halloween, and they just hand you like a little mini bottle of wine with like all the promotions. That's pretty smart.
I mean, there's plenty of great things you could do. I was just at Costco. They have the Halloween Pokemon cards like that they are selling. So it's like 3 cards per pack. You can give them out at Halloween.
Nice.
It's great. But we're not here to talk about Pokemon. Someday that special episode will appear. I promise you, listeners.
Special episode.
We're gonna do a Pokemon episode. I'm gonna make it happen. We just have to actually find
Well,
something that comes to the screen that we could talk about.
well, something is coming up, and we might as well. I meant to text you about this, but while we're here, let me just bring it up. The big championship battle and like Ash's
Yes.
farewell is like happening on Netflix right now. I definitely want to do a recap once that's over.
Yeah.
I'm not ready for it. I will cry, but I definitely want to do a recap on that.
It's going to be heartfelt. It's going to be tearful. But speaking of recaps, many of you probably know every single week we do a synopsis of the episodes that we're going to cover. Because we are so hot on the heels of episode 7 releasing, no one has released a synopsis of this episode yet. Because if you thought we wrote those, joke is on you. We will not take credit for the great work that the other people were doing. But yeah, there has not been a synopsis of episode 7, so we're just going to skip the synopsis. Like I said at the top, you've probably watched it, so you know you're just as excited as we are. So we're just going to jump right in with our thoughts. And I'm just going to say it. We got a mech suit! I was so not prepared for that. But oh my gosh, they're just coming out swinging this season. And Mechamaru kaiju-sized mech suit is just like, I didn't know I needed it. But I frickin' needed it.
I wasn't as blown away by the suit itself as much as I was the sound design that they put with it, because it was very like 90s nostalgic, and like the computer sounds and the
Yep.
movements and the lasers loading up, and I was just like, that had me geeky more than the suit itself.
I think it's
It was
everything.
so cool. It's amazing when you need something so giant for something so tiny. Again, like I didn't get anything spoiled for me, so I didn't know anything about the storyline, and I was intrigued with how it was starting. You know, talking about how there was a mole and this and that. Like, what could the motive be? And as soon as he walked in that room, I was like, well, found that motive.
Yeah, seriously.
He
This
looks awesome. I love his character design. I am
right.
terrified for him because even though the suit was jacked up, like we still don't know his fate yet. When we were looking at that dialogue between Miwa and him on the couch, I was expecting like the lights in his eyes to turn off or something.
Right.
So it's like I still feel like he's around, but with how messed up, crap, I'm forgetting the special grade's name.
The special grade curse.
Yeah,
That's Mahito. If I'm not
Maido, is that his name? Yeah.
Mahito, yeah. I'm just making sure I'm
So it's like
pronouncing it right.
they insinuated that like he got a touch in on him, so he could be messed up again and just fighting for his life inside that suit. I hope that's not the case, because you can't make me love a character that quick in an episode and then take that away from me. So yeah, they definitely had something dangling there for us.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't see a body. That's always the anime trope, but it's a trope for a reason because truly we did not see a body on that. I guess we're talking about kind of these 2 episodes in conjunction a little bit because they are
Yeah,
so
it's just that fight, like everything there together. Like I'm so happy I got to watch all of it in one sitting, because wow, like this is
well.
what I missed about season one.
I will say I was thinking of you, and it is written in my notes. Like at
Aw.
the start of the second episode, I'm like, "How's this for continued storytelling?" That was like your one complaint about the first 5 episodes is they would cliffhang you. We wouldn't see the fight; we'd just see the aftermath. And this was back
So
to just
giddy.
true form. See the fight start in episode 1, finish the fight in episode 2. Like that really just gave brevity to that. Now I need to see the next episode. I need to know what's going to happen. They're doing cliffhangers and they're paying them off, so it's just like, whoo-wee. But yeah, everything about the powers that suddenly we were seeing out of Muta which is the real name for Mechamaru. We'll probably use them interchangeably.
I'm
Yeah,
not trying to learn a whole new name.
you know,
I'm struggling with the ones I do know.
Mechamaru is also just a really cool name. But yeah, this is where I feel like it would have been good to have the recaps that Japan got. Were not salty, I swear about that. Because there was that little mention in season 1 of like, is there a mole? Is there someone that could be giving information? If I remember correctly. So like, would have been nice to think to ourselves, oh yeah, that's still going on. Do we know who it is? Do we have that information? Because I feel like there were little inklings sprinkled throughout season 1 of like, or the end of season 1. Hey, what could this be? So now getting to see it in full form, I was not prepared for like it to be as drastic as meeting them in person, seeing them like actually giving the information only to be killed instantly later. I was like, oh, he's going to escape or something's going to happen. And then Gojo's going to come in. Like, that's how this is going to go. To see him have a full plan on how to fight back and basically go like Taskmaster level of, well, I just know what everyone does, so you're about to get boned was.
And he still got cocky. Why did he have to get cocky?
I mean,
he was like, I'm not going to worry about Geito because I'm too worried about Mahito's touch. And then he was like, you don't have to be on the sideline anymore. It's time for me to take you on. And then as soon as that happened, I was like, you asshole. You freaking out. You child. Why did you do this to yourself? You done goofed up.
It's also like, he doesn't know this. But as a viewer, I'm sitting there like, we as viewers know a fraction of Geito's power. It's been however many years since Jujutsu Kaisen 0. He's only gotten more powerful. You are not going to stand a chance going up against him. So you need to just get out of there. Like, yeah, it was a bad move, but I can also kind of understand it because he's trying to protect everyone.
But like, you have a team for that. You're still a child. You literally had normal calcium filled bones for the first time in your life. Chill out.
Normal calcium filled bones. Yeah, no, that was a real great moment and so raw when it's like, oh, are you gonna celebrate more? And he's like, no, I'll do that later. Like, oh, you know, he was planning this fight from the first moments, because I distinctly love that they were like, if he has like an off the books puppet, he could be a problem for us. If it's the size of a fly, it could be something like so insignificant. And suddenly like 10 Mechamarus pop out of the ground to protect him, and then the Mechamaru, it's like,
and point.
What? Huh? What do you mean? He just has all of this and none of the other sorcerers knew? That's great. Oh my gosh. It was so cool. I am at a loss for words. I want to say something more than just it was like a badass cool thing, but that's what it was. Like,
it was like the whole fight. I'm just sitting there like, yee, this is what I've been waiting for.
Mm-hmm.
This is so good.
And then I gotta say, I feel like it has to be our Instagram post this week, the title card for episode 2, where it was just that, like, it was painted over as Mahito was like escaping, and then the mech like moving in. It was such a beautiful shot and just set the episode and the tone of that fight up. But they did a lot of great things, and I'm very curious to know, because we've had this conversation in the first 5 episodes. They did some very interesting animation things in these first 2 episodes, and I think they worked really well in terms of exploring slightly different techniques for very specific moments. It wasn't like they couldn't pick this time. It was like they very much picked. The one that stands out to me the most in this fight scene. Yeah, it was so good. But in this fight scene, the like long take wherein Mahito was trying to escape, I think it was the pigeon wrath or whatever it was, like the beams of light, and he was just transforming into all of these different animals, like jumping through the trees, turning into a rabbit, and then a gorilla, and then a bear. There was so much of that, and it reminded me a lot of the Black Clover fight scenes, when they just fully like extend the lines, and you're following from like this third-person perspective right over their shoulder. It was so breathtaking all the way across, and just frantic energy. I sat there knowing like Mahito's a long-term villain. He can't die to this. But I was still terrified because of the impact that they were putting on all of the moves and the way that he had to like put everything on the line to escape and try and not lose his souls, only to still possibly have lost some souls.
Yeah, I think sitting at the table at the diner was its own style. Then there's just like the typical JJK style, the typical Mappa style, if you will.
Yes.
And then there's the action style. And like I have my thoughts on the way Mappa looks. Sometimes I feel like it's a little too hyper detailed, but then there's like those moments where it's like she's just putting the straw in the drink. And I'm just like, man, that looks sick. Or just the ping pong. I was like, man, that looks
Oh,
sick.
that ping pong scene. It was so fluid. The diner scene was very much. You still haven't watched Mob Psycho, right?
I'm halfway through season 2.
Okay, so were you getting Mob Psycho like the moments when Reagan realizes that someone has like no idea what's going on? And he's just like, "Oh, they're an idiot." Like that's what it felt like in the diner scenes. They would just move their head back, like, "Oh, that's how it is." It was
Nice
very
callback.
reminiscent.
Oh, it's like that.
It's like that. Thank you for correcting me on the quote. You knew where it was going.
Yeah, that it was one of those things where it's like I didn't get where this was going, and I still have no idea. I'm hoping it's part
No.
of the bigger picture, but it was really cute how they just came up. But like the way that shit, I forget the girl's name.
Are you talking
I'm
Ozawa, the middle school classmate, or are you talking about
talking about the teammate
Maki?
Nobara.
Or not Maki? Nobara, yes.
Man, the Funko's lit. Nobara, that's right. The Funko's literally sitting outside my door, and the door is closed. Otherwise, I would have peeked at that. The way that Nobara's head was just like round and all like derpy and everything when the other girl was like explaining everything. Little things like that relate to like the first episode of the season where it's like Gato and Gojo's heads were just all like derpy and stuff, like coming up just like hand drawn circles. So like I love it when it's like fitting to the story and the vibe and the scene. So it's like the fact that it changed depending on what the scene called for is literally all I freaking needed in the first 5 episodes. So I'm glad they're like back on track with that.
Yes, I think that's very much the difference maker is like it's thematic, it makes sense for the moment. It's a choice as opposed to feeling like they just changed things up for this little bit. So,
Yeah. And also, I thought it was really ironic how bad Itadori wanted to watch the Wormo Man movie because the way that they put that little trailer in
oh my
kind of
gosh.
reminded me of the storyline of when Mahiko transfigured that guy that he was trying to save. So it's like you'd think he would have like a little bit of PTSD from that,
Yeah.
but he just is so excited to see this movie and he loves this. Like the scene was like, okay, I guess I understand why you like the other three. Like you've lived it.
Yeah, it's also like he's a movie nut. We've known this about him, so it's just a little fun character quirk. I personally love the fact that they went through all that effort to animate a full length trailer for a movie that does not exist. Like,
So dumb.
oh, why they did it?
I was worried they were going like human centipede realm when they said like human
Same. Oh
worm.
my gosh, yeah.
So I was relieved that it was something as. But then when the little earthworms came out, they were like, "Papa,
Papa,
what happened?" I was like, "Oh no,
this is
this
weird
is getting
again.
creepy."
Yeah.
Man, what I can say, I cannot wait for the dub to come out because that's what I started with, and I those voice actors do such an incredible job that like having to read the subtitles, I actually feel a little robbed now. And this is one of the very
Okay.
very few times where I'm just like I have that much of a connection with the dub that like that experience being able to actually hear these characters' voices and break them up is it's much more desirable for me.
That's
Like
fair.
Black Clover, when I watched the movie, I was like, okay, this is fine. Like I missed the dub voices, but this is fine. But in this one, it's like, I need those dub voices.
Yeah, the dub it's a good dub. I personally like it a little bit more in sub, but I think it's a preference thing as opposed to like there are some shows where it's legitimately a like downgraded experience, whereas I do not think
Sure,
Jujutsu Kaisen has that in the slightest. So for
I
sure,
think the bar in the industry has just gone up for it.
yeah, I think it's definitely the bar in the industry. I think it's also like just an understanding of like the requirement that you're suddenly going to an actual audience as opposed to, oh, we'll translate this because some people will watch it. So anime getting more popular just kind of makes these things happen. So I think that's a fantastic, step in the right direction.
Yeah, we're for it.
Yeah. So, yeah, you mentioned kind of in a little weird way not getting the first half of the first episode, and I am with you. I feel like it was one of two things, and I'm okay with either of those options. I feel like it's either, hey, remember these fun characters and the quirks that they have and who they are as people, or this is going to matter greatly. It's going to be some like, oh, we now have a person Itadori cares about that's going to like be held against him, or she was a curse that like we weren't aware of. I was actually half expecting a curse to pop out of the shadows when she was getting on
Mm-hmm.
the train there at the end. So I feel like if that is the case, we definitely don't have all the pieces to what Ozawa's story is going to be and how that's going to intertwine with Itadori. Or again, it's just a fun reminder of who these characters are. Like, we don't have Juju Strolls this season, so instead we're just going to get this little fun bit at the beginning to have them all be super serious and come together and watch goofy movies and go shopping and uh, again, be the characters that I absolutely adored to have on the screen. Because yes, it was a pointless 15-minute segment, but I was not upset at the end of it. I was just like, oh, it's so much fun. We got to have them back. We got to watch ping pong happen. Yippee. Like, it's so good.
I did have to wait a week, and now that I'm, for some reason, each half of both of these episodes felt like whole episodes. Because when you
Yes.
know how they had like in the middle when they have like the little card for like the commercial, like where a commercial break would be,
Yep.
both times I got scared that the
Yep.
episode was actually over.
I had the exact same thing happen to me. I was like, no way, that's way too short. It's over already.
And that's why it didn't bother me as much, because something about the writing and the energy and the environment and stuff, and I think it's because we're revisiting these characters that we really like and haven't seen
Mm-hmm.
in a while since 2021.
I think
Has
2021.
it been 2 years since they've been out? Because
Well,
you've had the movie and now this. They weren't
when.
in the movie.
Oh, that's right. They weren't in Zero. Oh my gosh, I
Yeah,
forgot about
exactly.
that. Yeah, so we had Gojo and we had everyone else. Oh my gosh.
So there was something about the way that they like wrote and depicted this that like that 10 minutes really felt like the whole 25 both times. And I could see what, like, I don't think they really wasted any time
No.
explaining what the situation was, diving in, and then giving us a good taste of the action. It wasn't like straight off the cliffhanger. It's like, he's the mole, episode cut. It's like, here's the mole, he got his body, we got a little bit of fighting scene. Holy shit, there's a mecha suit. Now cut. Okay, I can, trying to watch my mouth. I can F with
That's.
that. And for someone to have to wait a week and then get that gratification of we're picking up right where we left off and it's going to be a spectacular what feels like 30 minutes and somehow we actually got that into 10 minutes
Yes.
and then go into the next part is actually really impressive. And it's a tall ask to get that in 2 episodes and hope that they maintain it for 16 episodes, 16 more. But you gave me a bar, Mappa. You better hold to it now.
So I'm trying not to create, uneven expectations for myself, but I feel like the breakneck pace that these first two episodes took tells me that they have a lot of things that need to happen in this 16 or 18 episodes. Yeah, the
Yeah.
total 18 episodes, because the fact that it ended with Gojo entering the Veil to presumably what is going to be the entire crux and title of this season, the Shibuya Incident, tells
Mm-hmm.
me we now have a lot of stuff that is going to be happening, and they are doing one of my favorite storytelling things. It's my favorite season, or my favorite arc in My Hero Academia, because they give us the timeline is the Save Eri arc. We are getting timestamps throughout of like, this is when each individual thing happens, and it's just like, oh, this is going to be 10 episodes where it's like one 24-hour period, and I'm so scared. I want to
I
say
like the
excited,
timestamps.
but I'm scared.
I like the timestamps.
Timestamps are great.
If I have to start keeping up with the time because they're going back and forth, I will be pissed.
I think it's
With the non-linear storytelling, just keep it going.
I feel like they're going to have to do some nonlinear, just because it's probably going to be like this thing happens inside the veil, and we have all of our other characters besides Gojo outside the
Okay,
veil.
that's fine. Like you can put like a meanwhile or something like that, and it helps for that. But if you're going like same character, this is what happened. Oh, by the way, this is how we got here. Every episode, that will actually piss me off.
Yeah, I'm not thinking it's going to be for the same character. I'm guessing if it happens, it's going to be for the like inside outside, again similar to how they did it with the save area arc. Is like, well, they're fighting underground, suddenly there's this above ground thing that happens, and then they collide. It's going to be like inside the veil, outside the veil, boom.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's perfectly fine because it was really creepy vibes when they finally panned over Shibuya and we saw that there was like nobody there. It was just like stuff on the ground.
Them
It
starting with that.
reminded me so much of the Cell arc from Dragon Ball Z, where like Cell himself was first introduced, and it was just like there's literally just clothes on the ground because he spent a couple hours like sucking the life out of everybody.
Oh my gosh.
So I got those vibes, and I was just like, oh my god, like this happened already. Like what happened? And then when I jumped back, and I was like, this is the only jump back you're doing. I swear to God, this is the only freaking jump back you're doing.
Yeah, it's still creepy, and even just like the little bits that we've gotten, we have no idea who's there. I mean, we can assume it's the usual suspects, but it could be anyone or anything or another cursed spirit. Like, we don't actually know what is behind everything that we got to see, and it is terrifying because these are just regular civilians that for the most part cannot see what's happening. They just see
I
people
love that
getting lifted
reminder
off
that
their
they
feet.
sprinkled in.
That the one girl could
It
kind of
was like,
see it.
can't see that? It was like, what are you talking about? It's like, how
Yep.
do you not see what's happening right there?
That was they were subtle and not subtle in this episode about explaining things. That was perfect, like so subtle I didn't realize they were explaining that to me, kind of
Yeah.
thing. And then you also had the guy that was explaining to Megami, like, hey, did you know you can't get cell service in there because that's a side
Oh
effect of
yeah.
the veils? I was
That
like,
was so
thank you
far
for
from
being the
subtle.
audience, I guess. Answering my question that I was inevitably going to have at some point.
What was the other guy's name? Namina? Is it Namina?
I don't know. Who are you talking? Are you talking about the guy
Dude
that?
with the glass, the dude with the glasses who like ties his tie around his fist. Nanami.
Oh yeah, Nanami. I'm like, what? Do you...
Yeah, Nanami had to be like, he's a really bright dude. He's fine. You don't have to explain that. It's like, are you saying us as the audience aren't bright? No, I do
No,
appreciate
we are not.
that one. That one was not subtle. The one that I mentioned was subtle, and then one that I did appreciate was Gato explaining pacts. How it's like,
Pax was
hey,
good.
if you make a pact with yourself and you lose something, like you lose the thing you got that pact for. We don't know the ramifications of the pact that you made. He did his mole stuff. You have to do your transfiguration stuff. We'll figure everything else out after that. So I like that they made it that important that somebody as devious as Mahito couldn't just go and screw it up. Like he had to hold his end of the bargain. And while like the full extent of like the heavenly pacts are still mysterious to us, I like that Gato is so much better of a teacher than Gojo is. I love Gojo, but oh my god, like how efficiently he explains stuff. I'm just like, thank you. Can you just like randomly pop in as your chibi self and just explain things that Gato or Gojo can't? Because that'd be great.
We need just like the old school how they used to do on like Nickelodeon. You would get an episode of a TV show where it was like with behind the scenes thing, and just like little text bubbles would pop up at the bottom. We just need that, but next to
Yeah.
Geto's little head, just like, hey, by the way, did you know? Like just those little extra things. Because yeah, but I know it's also just the nature of this show, because I've talked to manga readers that are like, yeah, it doesn't get simpler. You're just gonna have to deal with it because it's
Yeah.
like complicated even to read and reread. But one of the other things that I feel like, and I'm kind of getting into theory crafting for what's coming here, so apologies, I suppose. The simple domain, that feels like it has huge ramifications and was so just subtly kind of tossed into that wonderful fight scene that I think this is going to be now what we have to deal with for, taking down Gojo or possibly being a threat to Gojo. Like,
Yeah.
That's a big deal for them to just be like, oh, that's how he's going to defeat this person. Where else is that going to be applied?
And that was the non-subtle one that I was very happy with. Like I did my rewatch, so it's like I remember Miwa explaining like if if you get into the circle, like she can feel it right away, and like her response is that she can like attack like as an impulse.
Yes.
So that and the example that they gave for Gojo was the only simple domain demonstrations that we've gotten. So I like that we had that subtle little recap of like, we're showing you this now for a reason. Keep
Yes.
it in the back of your head. It is popping back up.
Yes, because also wasn't it that the simple domain occurred partially with like the devices that Mekamaru had?
In his instance, yeah.
But I feel like that's another example of, can we make more of these devices? Are they going to pop back up? Like, so many just subtleties suddenly being sprinkled in, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of questions as for what this event is going to be, especially based on that first 5 episodes, because like, how is that going to apply? Yeah, it's so many good. I don't feel like I'm being talked down to, but I also don't feel like I'm dumb this season. Like, they've done a very good
Yeah.
balance of, hey, we're going to teach you some things, you're going to figure it out, and you're going to be along for the ride, as opposed to just like, blue and red make purple.
Yeah. Which is something that sadly we've had to ask for.
Yes, I
Just
don't
like, if you
know.
could dumb it down for us, that'd be
I
great.
really want to know, is this a thing that is coming from the manga that they dumbed it down a little this season? I don't think that's the case, because I've heard the manga turns into like light novels at this point. Um, or is this the showrunners being like, hey, we gotta help the people because they are not getting it?
Regardless of how they got there, thank you to whoever made it get there.
Yes, seriously.
But I won't have my hopes too high because who knows when there'll be like a different director and then you guys just screw me over again. So high hopes, but they have irritated me enough that it's like they're still on what is it, on parole? No. What's the word I'm looking for? Probation.
You're only letting them off with a warning here.
Yeah. I still got my eyes on you. But yeah, dude, every Thursday I get to watch Jujutsu Kaisen football and podcast. Like Thursdays about to be lit.
Thursdays are fantastic. We talk about lit. What did you think of this intro?
I like it.
I feel like it was a pretty strong bop. Immediately after the episode came out, Jill texted me and she brought up a really good point. It sounds a lot like Immortals that Imagine Dragons wrote for Big Hero 6.
Mm-hmm.
It's very reminiscent of that, and I think that's part of why I like it, because I also very much like that song in that context. But it just has such a like Japanese pop kind of airiness to it. I don't know how to describe it. It's nothing like, I'm not banging my head to it. It's not immediately going on the workout playlist, but it's still a lot of
Yeah.
fun to listen to.
Yeah. I don't skip it, but I didn't Shazam it right away either.
Yeah, it's a very specific vibe. Like, it's gonna come on a random Japanese pop playlist, and I'm gonna listen to it happily, but I'm not like going out of my way like I
Yeah.
was with Black Rover or all of the Attack on Titan intros.
Yeah. No, it's a good one. I enjoy it.
Yeah, for sure. It's very good.
It's no Demon Slayer.
It's no Demon Slayer, and I don't know if you will ever be able to beat Lost Paradise in my heart. Like, they set the bar way too high with the outro of that first season, which, yeah, if we ever get bored, you and I are totally going to do like a top 5 episode of like anime openings and closings. And I know our closing is going to be like number 1 Jujutsu Kaisen, and then
Yeah.
4
I haven't
other
done that on 323 with Reed Murphy podcast. Actually, I did openers for that one. So, yeah, we could do a closer one.
We could still do closers. Also, it's just like, I don't even know how I could pick openers, because there's so many different vibes out there. And are we going for the visuals and the music, or just the music? There's so many things that can happen.
See, I just have a anime openers playlist, which you've listened to in my car before.
I mean, yes.
So I would just go off of the song because a lot of the time I don't retain like the visuals.
That's okay. So if we were doing it just based off music, I could probably cobble together a list. But that is Someday, when we decide to actually launch a Patreon, it'll exist there.
Yeah, but Spy Family and Jujutsu Kaisen definitely have notable closers visually.
Visually and musically, I think that's what
Yeah, and we
really.
established musically. I'm just talking about like visually, like right off the bat. I can imagine those two right away.
But all of the Spy ones, whereas I can't really
Yeah.
tell you much about all of the Jujutsu Kaisen ones. Spy has
Okay.
kept up
Okay.
pretty notably.
That's fair.
Wow, this is a sensible thing. Why do I feel like I found out that I think the band that wrote the first Spy Family closer also wrote like another notable anime opener. I'm just like, oh, these guys kill it all the time apparently, but I can't remember what the name of that band was. So that's a
I couldn't tell you as I try to look it
yeah. I see it
up.
frantically. Okay, wait, hang on. Who? The problem when you try and Google half of this is when they give you the name of the song or the band in Japanese, and you're like, well, what do I do with this?
Oh, I just went straight to my playlist.
Oh, there you go. But it's not the second one.
But I'm
Or maybe it is the second. I don't know. That is trivia information that hopefully my brain will need someday because I'm going to retain it for a while.
Yama.
But
Yama.
regardless, that was all that I had in my notes. Oh, besides the fact that if Mekamaru returns, do we think he will now be upgraded to a special grade curse or special grade sorcerer? Yeah, because there was that mention that although temporary, he was at that same power level.
No, I don't think so until he can consistently do it.
Until he can consistently do it? I would just love like mech suit kaiju size just running into Shibuya, like, guys, I'm gonna help you, and just totally tearing up the town.
Him and Panda are the only like first grade sorcerers, right? Or
Well, I
grade A, or whatever
mean
you call it.
that was kind of the crux of the start of the episode is that they were all recommended to be first grade, and then did we get confirmation they are
Okay,
all
so
now
Panda was
semi first
no.
grade?
Well, when they were doing the intros of the three teams, it said testing postponed.
For
Panda, Maki.
okay, because yeah, those that were recommended to become first grade sorcerers was Yuji, Nobara, Megami, Panda, and Maki.
Yeah. So when they introduced them and they had those little title cards,
Mm-hmm.
it said like the person that they were with that had their rank, and then for the people that you just mentioned, it said testing postponed.
Did it say semi first grade or first grade? Because wasn't that the whole thing they
It just
become?
said testing postponed.
Oh, just all right. So we have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm curious if the people that they were with are like their handlers or whatever Toto was talking
Well,
about.
one was the head of the Zenin clan
Right.
that was stuck with Maki. That's why I was like, oh.
So that's what I'm wondering. Like, did they become their handlers? Because that could be a super interesting thing.
For this mission, I suppose.
Oh yeah, that's true. Toto didn't say they were full time. He said it was like we'll go on missions together occasionally. So
Mm-hmm.
okay, that would be. I feel like that still carries a lot of interesting notes and weight to it, especially as you mentioned that it's the leader of the clan was involved. Did we see where Itadori was outside the veil? I feel like we saw everyone else. Did we see him?
No.
That's a good question right there.
Okay, I have ranks.
Ranks. Like,
Maki is grade 4. Nobara, Mai, and Miwa are grade 3. Takuma Ino, the guy who did the excessive explanation. Fushiguro, Panda, and Momo, the girl who rides the broom,
yep.
are all grade 2. And then Toge, Kamo, Muta, and Iori are grade 1.
Okay.
Or semi grade 1, excuse me.
Okay. So yeah, we don't. everyone is still currently at their grades, but they did recommend to upgrade people.
Yeah, and that testing got postponed because of the Shibuya incident,
Makes sense.
which is the name of next week's episode.
Oh, gosh, I can't. The fact that it's on Halloween too just is like
Creepy.
when Mahito said in the woods, like, we have 10 days till Halloween. I can rest. I was like, what's happening on Halloween? Why? What? What do you mean? Is this a thing that we don't know about, that like curses are at their greatest power on Halloween, and that's why Halloween is such a haunted day? Is that a thing in
But
this?
the Jujutsu Kaisen Zero incident was on Christmas, which they said
They did make that
Night of
mention.
1,000 Demons or whatever it was called.
I think that was it. Oh my god. Now, because I know there are some cultures that believe, like, oh, that's part of why Halloween is a haunted day, is because like spirits are closest to like the human realm or something along those lines. So I'm curious if there's something we don't know about that is very similar with Halloween in this world.
We gon' learn soon.
We gon' learn what it be like.
Huh. I think that's it
Yeah,
for me.
it's so much fun to be back. I'm so excited. But yeah, it was just a lot of us ranting about our favorite parts, which is a great thing that we have the capacity to do, because this is our platform where we can talk about our favorite parts. But if you listening out there have any favorite parts that you want to talk about, whether it be with this anime or anything else that we were covering, or any animated things in general that you were watching, feel free to always shoot us an email, give us some feedback. We love to hear from all of you. It can be a voice memo, it can be text, it can be literally whatever you want it to look like, and we just want to hear more from you. If you want to do that, you can reach out to us, animationdeliberation.podcast@gmail.com, as well as all of our lovely social media platforms. You can find us there. You can share our content. You can like our photos. Zuhair just posted a lovely video that is just a fun moment from their My Adventures with Superman podcast that we recorded earlier this week. I say we, it was Jay Scotty and Zuhair, not myself. But yeah, you can find that on our social medias as well.
We as on the show.
And yeah, like I said, like, share, all those things. Animation Deliberation on Instagram and Facebook, as well as Animation Delib1 on X, formerly Twitter. I will never get used to saying that. It's just the worst call out that you can give. Like, get me on X. What does that mean? It sounds, but that's a whole other thing to talk about. And then on top of that, the single best, greatest, friendliest, and wonderful way that you can support us is by leaving a 5-star rating and review on whatever podcast platform you are listening to us. It's the best way to support us. It gives us great feedback, as well as helps out the algorithm, helps other people find us. And we are just so happy that you are all back. I love seeing the little bump in downloads that we get whenever we talk about anime, because this is like our favorite thing to talk about. Zuhair and I have been so excited, and yeah, it is great to be back.
Yeah, a couple notable things to look out for. Check out Jay Scotty on Multiverse News that they do every Tuesday. You can even watch them live on Twitch. We had Haley Hobbs come in for a Ahsoka primer. We're going to be doing a recap once the season is over. It was really exciting. That was the one time that the synopsis were custom written up, and that's because our guest did it for us.
Haley's
that was not
so
a copy
good.
paste. She did that herself. We will give her the credit for that, but we do not write synopsis. I will be recording on Peeves Gapfest as an hour as the guy who only watched Harry Potter movies and is now reading the books for the first time. So I'll be giving my perspective on just kind of like what that's been like and what I expect from the new Max series. God, that's another thing I hate saying, Max and X. What's wrong with these people?
Yeah.
And aside from that, 323 with Rena Murphy, football is back, so I'm doing like, weekly news and reactions and things of that sort. We have our Sunday hangover. Everything else, just check out on strandedpanda.com. Be sure to tune in next time, and as always, stay whelmed.
That's how it is. Muscle.
Thank you for listening to the Animation Deliberation Podcast, a proud member of the Stranded Panda Network. If you would like to contact us, you can email animationdeliberationpodcast@gmail.com or follow us on Twitter @animationdelib1. For this and other great shows, you can visit strandedpanda.com or join the great community that is the Stranded Panda Chat Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/svchat. Tune in next time, and remember, stay whelmed.